Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, really interesting contract situation that came up, and it kind of got me thinking, especially because I think things are so like kind of mundane and super. I don't know what the like corporate, I guess, in terms of the group thinking and the mindsets about how the franchises go about business. And I think we forget ultimately at the end of the day, this is a business, it's a franchise, and they collaborate a lot with the players, right? And this in terms of contracts, they do a lot of on field, off field things as well. But ultimately, it doesn't have to be such a basic situation whereas you performed and exceeded expectations or you performed average. Here's a few years. This is the range we're going on based on a bit of inflation and previous performance from similar players, or at least similar statistics. Taysom Hill, he gets a 4-year extension with the Saints. I believe it's for a maximum potentially of 95 million. And I think it's like 44.5 million guaranteed otherwise. Um, or it might be 24.5 guaranteed with 44.5 and like performance elevators. But nonetheless, the interesting thing about his contract is more so that the way they crafted it is directly impacted by how he'll end up being utilized. So if you've seen a lot of players like some of the tight ends that get wide receiver production, some of the wide receivers that I'm kind of thinking back in like the Percy Harvin modes where they're handling running capabilities, they're handling the receiving duties, they're playing special teams. They're the main go-tos, if they're not like a gunner or something, as an actual returner for the team. And maybe just some backup opportunities as a quarterback, or kind of like wildcat scenarios. And so he's essentially, Taysom Hill's the do it all Swiss Army knife. And not in the negative, basic way that we've heard the term used in the scouting realm, where it's kind of like they do it all at a serviceable level, but don't necessarily have any bread and butter to it. But Taysom Hill, he kind of excels in all the things that he's doing. He comes in, he makes splash plays in the quarterback realm. At the running back position, he's known for trucking through people, running people over. He's a huge emphasis on special teams, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there in the world that would say if they ever got hit by him, the man might as well go suit up on the defensive line or something as well. So very, very unique, very authentic man, especially in today's world where we're using players in more creative ways than we have, ever in the past, really. So his main contract is centered around that. If he's playing those 3 to 5 positions, and he just continues to do what he's been doing his whole tenure so far with the Saints. However, the 95 million maximum contract escalation, that comes into play if he ends up being able to lock down the starting quarterback role at some point. So it's kind of interesting because we know the Saints have kind of been in like cap hell for a while, and they'll probably be shedding a lot of talented players again. So there'll be a frenzy free agency wise, especially since they'll only be able to tender and slap a franchise tag on so many people. So the thinking there is to kind of secure at least the quarterback position. Let's say they are satisfied with what Jameis Winston has been able to provide them. Then cool, that gives him quality backup insurance, and he'll continue to do what he's been doing his whole time, so far with the Saints. Except, a little bit more of a pay boost for him. If he does lock down a starting quarterback role, they've groomed this man for so long that it's kind of almost a forgotten thought that they do, they are respecting the return on investment at the actual quarterback position that he was, essentially naturally positioned to play. So that's just kind of like the cherry on top. If he does lock it down, they get a quarterback on what we can assume will be a pretty friendly contract. Especially comparing it to some of the crazy ones that have been launched recently between Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray's right around the corner. So it's kind of a nice preparation for them and already getting that contract completed. And, I can't even think of anything else that comes to mind recently. We played around with a few things, but, most of our players are from way, way back in the day when we kind of had the Super Bowl runs, or at least, consistent franchise playoff teams. So I'm thinking like the Joe Clicos of the world, Mark Jestinus, who are on the defensive line, essentially playing every position. Although that was a different time and frame. If we kind of fast forward to modern day, Darrell Revis, he didn't necessarily play multiple positions like that at all. Maybe sometime, in the slot. I remember a few games against the Giants, trying to shadow Victor Cruz potentially, prior to like Odell, showing up or anything of that nature. But with Darrell Revis' contract, I think they tried to do the fancy. His first year contract was all paid in his uniform number, 24. So it was like 24.24 million. Well, like 0.242424 or whatever it was. But I think this lends itself to a lot more creativity that other general managers around the league are going to capitalize on, especially at like the wide receiver position, where you do have a lot of those kind of more multifaceted hybrid players that are capable, the Debo Samuels of the world that can do stuff in the running game, the receiving game, and a bit of special teams when called on. And it's kind of a bit of a win-win for all players. So while they feel like they can capitalize on each individual position to a certain degree and kind of secure job security based on that, they also have the opportunity through performance elevators or whatever other kind of creativity the managers can come up with on the contract side, to where if they do end up breaking the mold or breaking out in one particular position and can kind of settle there and maybe decrease a few snaps in other areas, they still feel like they're getting properly rewarded at that time based on, what's happening around the league. So just some food for thought. I thought it was really cool. Maybe it's something we'll see down the line for ourselves. Just top of the mind, I can think Elijah Moore is one for sure, especially as we've been giving him a few more, carries here and there in the running game. And then on the defensive side, I would probably say it would be like more likely we see somebody in like the safety department. And nobody currently on a record roster that comes to mind. But, if we do end up finding a player that's pretty good at both sides, that could be something that potentially gets utilized there. Or maybe we see like a Hamza Nasruddin, and I mentioned it before, Jamie and Sherwood, where maybe they do secure a very a good role for themselves in a linebacker core, but then we can shift them around and do some safety stuff, a la, like a Mark Barron or somebody. But let me know what you guys think. Especially when it comes to if you think Taysom Hill will actually lock down the starting quarterback role. I think he'll just continue to excel at all things, and maybe they move forward with a Jameis Winston, or maybe they do look to the draft and use uh, use Taysom Hill, kind of as the de facto starter, and then use maybe the first 2 seasons or so to groom a younger quarterback. But very, very interesting stuff. Appreciate you guys watching and checking me out as always, though. And I'll catch up with you again. Peace.